Hi guys, this is Andrew with Headphones.com. Today we're going to take a look at the Audeze LCD-1. This is a planar magnetic over-ear open... Wait. I swear it was right here. Where did it...
So not too long ago, I reviewed the Headphone Sundar and was really impressed by the level of performance it brought to the table. So much so that I called it my personal favorite headphone under $500. However, I've recently been listening to the Audeze LCD-1 and I can confidently say that there is a real contender for my go-to pick in the sub $500 range. Hey guys, it's Chrono from the Headphone Show, and today we'll be looking at how the Audeze LCD-1 performs, as well as how it compares to other headphones in its price range, like the Sennheiser HD660S, the Biodynamic DT1990 Pro, and of course, the Headphone Sundara. The LCD-1 retails for $399, and it's Audeze's attempt at creating a portable reference class headphone. As such, its design is a great departure from what we've come to expect from Audeze LCD headphones. First, their power requirements are extremely low. These come in at an impedance of 16 ohms and a sensitivity level of 99 dB. I mean, these are extremely efficient. Everything that I tried them on, my MacBook, my phone, onboard motherboard audio on my desktop, they all sounded great and they have plenty of volume. So I don't think that an amp is required at all for these. Unlike other LCD headphones, they are extremely lightweight and feature a very compact, foldable design. The inner headband is made out of metal, but the outer shell is made almost entirely out of plastic. For the most part, they feel pretty sturdy and I don't think durability over time will be an issue. However, I do have to mention that this particular unit that I received for review creaks quite a bit. Now, I asked around and it seems like that issue is isolated to this unit alone. However, I still thought it was worth mentioning. The included cable is a 3.5mm to dual 3.5mm reversible cable that measures 2 meters in length, and I found it ideal for both desktop and mobile usage. Also included in the box is a 1/4-inch adapter and an Audeze branded travel case. Now, for comfort, I have to say that I was really surprised. The ear cups on the LCD-1 are really small, like an on-ear. However, I was able to easily fit my entire ear inside the pads. The pads themselves are actually quite nice as they are made with genuine lambskin leather and they use a very comfortable medium density memory foam. I don't like to admit it, but I've got a big head. Still, I had no issue getting these to fit right even when they weren't extended all the way. After around 2 hours, I could start feeling pressure buildup from wearing these, but giving my ears a bit of time to cool off was enough to get them to feel good again. My only real complaint is that the headband itself tended to create a bit of a hot spot at the crown of my head. I kind of wish they had gone with some sort of suspension style headband, but I guess that might have sacrificed some of the portability. Before talking about sound, I would like to point out that my listening was done through a JDS Labs Element 2 amp DAC combo, and the music itself was sourced from either my FLAC library or Tidal set to hi-fi and master quality. Now for sound, I gotta admit that these really impressed me as soon as I started listening to them. They're by no means perfect, but straight out of the box, I found myself really enjoying the way they sounded, which was a very different experience than what I had with my beloved LCD2s. So as I usually like to do, I'll start off by talking about the bass, and I actually think it's very good on the LCD-1. It has mostly even extension down to 20 Hertz, and it's actually very good for speed and detail. You know, it does a good job at reproducing all the nuances in the bass region. The only real issue that I have here with the bass is that the overall bass level, starting at around 130 Hertz, is very low. It's not that there's a roll off, it's just that the overall presence of the bass in the mix, its volume is very low. And when you combine that with the lack of punch and slam on the LCD-1, it really makes the bass very lean on these. Now, for comparisons, I think that the bass here is better extended and more detailed than on both the DT1990 Pro and on the HD660S, but at least to my ears, is not quite as fast as the bass in the Sundara, and they definitely have a lot less punch and slam than any of those other headphones. Now, with EQ, you can add a fairly aggressive bass shelf because of their low total harmonic distortion, and that brings the bass closer to target, at least my personal target, and makes it a lot more enjoyable and a lot more present. Moving on to the mids, I think that they're excellent on the LCD-1. They're very close both in tonality and resolution to the mids on the Sundara. In terms of frequency response, the only issue I have with these is that there's a fairly significant dip at 2K, and that makes the mids come across as a little thin, and sometimes electric guitars can get a little lost in the mix, but other than that, the tonality on these for the mids is great, and I also think the timbre is very natural sounding. I actually prefer the timbre on these than on the 660S, DT1990 Pro, and on the Sundara. Resolution for $400 I think is very good. As I mentioned already, it's on par with the Sandara. However, I do think that the HD660S and DT1990 Pro are a little better and more resolving than the LCD-1 and Sandara in the mid-range. Now, when you EQ the mids on the LCD-1, it's very easy to fix that 2K dip, and that brings these a lot closer to target. I also like to add a slight reduction at 3.5K. However, I don't think that most people have to make that change. It's just that I think I'm a little sensitive to that region of the frequency response. But yeah, other than that, I think the mids here are pretty good. They don't need that much EQ, and for the most part, they sound great out of the box. So the last part of the frequency response is of course the highs, and they're fantastic on the LCD-1. I actually think it's the best part about their overall tonality. I think they sound very natural, they're very well tuned, but more impressively, their resolution is amazing. It's actually something that really stood out to me when I first listened to them. I think that they're a lot more resolving than the DT1990 Pro, the HD660S, the Hi-Fi Man Sandara. It actually sounds a lot closer to me in terms of resolution to the Hi-Fi Man Ananda. And the only thing I would change to the highs with EQ is that for my preference, I think that they could use a little bit more energy at around 6.5K. But other than that, the highs on the LCD-1 are really amazing. So now let's talk about soundstage, which is actually kind of disappointing on the LCD-1 because it's about on par in terms of width with the HD660S. And if you're familiar with 600 series Sennheisers, then you'll know that that means that the soundstage here is very narrow. However, they do have a redeeming quality in the imaging. The imaging here is very precise. I think that it's very easy to locate where sounds originate and come from on the LCD-1. It's about on par with the DT1990 Pro in that aspect, and it definitely outperforms the Sennheisers and the Sandara for imaging. Instrument separation is also very good. I think it's better than what you get on the 660S and on the DT1990 Pro. However, it doesn't do quite as good a job at layering as the Sandara, but it's still pretty good. Now, the last thing I want to talk about for technical performance is dynamics, and as I mentioned earlier in the bass, these really don't have fantastic dynamics. They don't do much in the way of punch and slam. You know, you don't get that much. You know, if you're listening to things with like kick drum, you don't really get that immediate impact with these. It's there, it's just not the strongest out there. And same thing for microdynamics. I like to listen out for things like piano keystrokes and guitar strings, and you know, these don't do the best job at reproducing that sort of like tension and weight behind instruments. But yeah, it's there. It's just that there's headphones both in its price range and below its price range that do that better than the LCD-1. So very quickly before I go into the conclusion of this review, I know I've talked sparingly about EQ, and that's because these don't really need it. They still benefit from it. It's just that they don't transform with EQ in the way that other headphones like the LCD-2 do. I'll still be leaving my EQ preset that I made for these in the description down below, but I also encourage you to check out the preset that's in the Reveal Plus plugin that Audeze made, because it's actually very good for these. So yeah, I mean, EQ, they don't need it, but they do benefit from it. So now to actually wrap up the video, I gotta say that, you know, I think Audeze really succeeded in designing a headphone that is both portable, enjoyable to listen to, and can actually provide reference class sound. You know, they have low power requirements, great tonality out of the box, and they're extremely portable. They're the ideal traveling companion if you're okay with using an open back headphone on the go. For desktop use, I personally still think that I would prefer the Sandara just because they're more comfortable for longer listening sessions. But I mean, if you're going to be using your headphones across multiple devices, or you're not always, you know, at your desktop, I really suggest that you give the LCD-1 a chance, because I really think they sound fantastic. So yeah, that's all I had to say for the LCD-1. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, do consider dropping a like and also subscribing to the Headphone Show if you're interested in more headphone and audio equipment content. Until next time, this is Chrono signing off.